Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. Today, we have a really interesting couple of guys here from Flotilla 75 of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. Oscar Kramer, good to have you here. You're the Flotilla commander.
That's correct, Bill. Thanks for having us.
Gary Mull, you're a staff officer with it.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about this unique organization, because you're not a civilian organization and you're not really a military organization. You kind of are like a warrant officer, neither fish nor fowl. You sort of stand in the middle. Tell us a little bit about that, Oscar.
We're a volunteer arm of the U.S. Coast Guard. All of our people are volunteers. Everything that we do is based on a volunteer effort. We are not military. We have no police powers, but we assist the Coast Guard in all of their other activities, primarily boating safety.
And you also assist the Homeland Security, is that not true?
That's true. The Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary are part of the Department of Homeland Security. So we are definitely involved in Homeland Security.
Gary, let's talk about some of the things that you do. If somebody came to your flotilla and said, you know, I enjoy boating, I'd really like to be part of it. Do I have to have a boat? What would be the things that I would have to come and do or see or bring with me in order to be part of the flotilla?
Well, you have to be a U.S. citizen to begin with, but you don't have to have a boat. The nice thing about the auxiliary, there are so many things that people can get involved with that don't involve actually being on the water, unless you like being on the water, and then there are plenty of things you can do on the water too. But we do radio watches, so we need people to support us on the radio and communicate with the boats that are out. Those are some of the non-water type operations that we do. We do a lot of community education, so we teach boater safety classes, and we also do vessel inspections. So we'll come out and inspect your vessel and make sure that you have all the proper safety equipment and those sorts of things. And of course, we do social events, and we have administrative people, and so there are lots and lots of things that you can do to help out the auxiliary that don't involve being on the water. From the water side, there's a lot that you can do if you do enjoy boating. You don't have to have your own boat, but if you do, there's a possibility you could make it a facility. We could put it into action with the auxiliary. But if you don't, you can crew on another boat and perform search and rescue missions in case somebody gets in trouble. We keep an eye on the bridges, and we keep an eye on we do port security, and of course we also go out and make sure the ATONs are functioning properly, those little markers that you see out in the bay. So lots and lots of things that you can do. Aids to navigation.
Aids to navigation.
It's really funny, when you get into a particular group, they will always have their own little acronyms, and they'll spit them out all the time and expect everyone to know what they are, but they don't. Oscar, I once upon a time was a member of the Power Squadron when I was over on the bay more, and now I've got a boat, but I'm inland, so I don't belong any longer. But how does the Power Squadron, it sounds like a lot of the things that Gary mentioned, they do the same thing. So you're very similar in a lot of ways?
That's correct. We are very similar. They do vessel inspections, so do we. They give boating safety classes, and so do we. But it is different because we're associated with the Coast Guard. We have to have a background check. Everyone who joins the Coast Guard Auxiliary has to go through a security clearance.
Oh, really?
Yes. And once you've passed that, then you're a full-fledged member of the auxiliary. So because we're associated with the military, and there's things that we learn that are not available to the general public, you need to have that background investigation.
In fact, it's interesting. I was looking at the ribbons on both of your chests, and I recognized on Gary's chest the I didn't get caught medal from time in the military service. So you really are close. You're wearing military medals, that you service medals and things?
Folks that have prior military service are allowed to wear the ribbons and medals that they've collected in their prior military service, yes.
And for those that don't know what the I didn't get caught medal is, that's the
good conduct.
Good conduct medal. It took them 4 years to send it to me after I got out of the military, but I did get one.
You don't have to be good, you just have to not get caught, right?
Oscar, what would it cost if I wanted to be a member of the flotilla? Is there an expense involved?
It's a pretty minimal expense. You have to provide your own uniforms, but we tell you the places to go where you can get good deals on uniform supplies.
Are they the same military uniforms that you'd find in other military services?
Absolutely.
So you could go to a thrift shop or something like that near one of
The
the
shirt I'm
bases?
wearing is Air Force regulation shirt.
Okay, so you could go
So
over to McDill's thrift shop
You
and
can.
pick one up.
We also keep uniforms from our deceased members or people who are no longer in the auxiliary, and we have a shop of our own where if somebody doesn't want to buy one, we'll provide you with a uniform.
Is there a fee to join?
Our
Membership fee?
Our dues are very reasonable. It's $50 a year.
That is very reasonable.
Yeah.
Now, I understand there are a lot of different kinds of classes. I remember when I was in the Power Squadron, I took the navigation class, which taught me how to do dead reckoning and a variety of other types of navigation that probably today with GPS you're never going to use a whole lot of. But it was a good thing to know in case the batteries go bad.
We still teach it. We still teach navigation and dead reckoning. It's an important skill to have. You never know when that GPS is going to go out on you, and then what do you do?
Now, who do you teach these classes for, Gary?
Oh, we're open. The classes are open to the general public. Although we
Do I have to be a member to come and take a
You
class?
don't have to be a member. Well, some of the classes that we teach just for the auxiliary members you do, but the classes we teach for the general public under public education, we teach boating safety classes, the ABS, which is about boating safety, and we also teach a basic seamanship and sailing course, as well as a basic seamanship class for power boaters. But those are open to the public. And then we also do targeted training for particular groups. For example, we just got done doing a class for the Hillsborough County Park Rangers, and it was just that group. So we came in and taught them about...
For the county?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So we taught them about boating safety. So we're open to do that. We've gotten involved with teaching fishing clubs that want to bring us in and do that as part of their regular programming. And boating safety, of course, is important to everybody. So we're always happy to come out or have other people come out as part of the general public. We've done some youth training and been involved with that to teach all different groups of people about boating safety.
Now, you're required in the state of Florida to have a license to operate a boat. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Certain age.
Over a certain age, you're required to have a license. That is correct.
So young people coming along, or those that maybe moved down here from another state, if they don't have that license, they can come and take one of your classes?
Exactly. They can come and take one of our classes, and if they successfully pass the exams, they will be issued a Florida state boating license.
And do you have to renew that every year or 2 years or
No.
5 years? Or
No, you have it for life.
What's nice about that too, even for adults, if they take the classes and get the Florida State Boating Card, it can qualify you for a discount on your boating insurance. So
Yeah,
it's really a worthwhile thing.
I, in fact, took both. I took your class and the Power Squadron class, and that's part of the reason why. It was a discount on my insurance, substantial discount, actually.
Sure.
But even more than that, people spend tens of thousands of dollars sometimes on a boat, and they get in there with no experience, and they don't know what equipment to buy, and they're really putting themselves and their family and their friends in jeopardy if they really don't know the rules of the road, some of the safety things, the simple safety things that you and I might think of. You may not think of it if you're a new boat owner, or even if you've been at it for 10 years. Some things just don't occur to you. Oh, do I need to have this on board? So that could wind up in a substantial fine, or worst case scenario, it could do damage to your boat or the passengers on your boat.
But I think probably you've got a lot of experience with that. I remember, how long would it take, 3-4 months for you to sail from Toledo, Ohio, with a 400-mile turn to the left?
You bet.
To go up to Quebec and then back down the Ribbon Canal?
Exactly. I've had a lot of experience on the water. I actually bought the boat in Cape Coral and sailed it up, and then recently just sailed it back down to Florida. And I've been boating since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, so I've had a lot of boating experience. But not everybody gets that opportunity. People come to Florida, they retire to Florida, or they move to Florida, and they say, wow, look at all this water, and I've got to get a boat, and I've got to get out there and go fishing, or I want to go do these things. And that's great. We love to see that happen. But you have to remember there's education that goes along with that. And if you don't have the education, and if you don't have the proper equipment, you're not prepared for the things that can come up in an emergency, you really are putting yourself in unnecessary hazard.
Commander Kramer, how long have you been boating?
I've been boating for a good part of my life. I've owned 2 or 3 boats. myself. I don't have one right now, but that's why I'm in the auxiliary. I get to use the auxiliary boats, and because I like being around the water. Along with what Gary was saying, so many people don't understand some of the fundamental things about boating. For example, people who've been boating for years and never use their radio. They have a radio, never use it. So we try and teach them the importance of using that radio, listening to channel.
Reasonably.
Yes, listening to channel 16. You'll get weather updates. You'll get emergencies. You may be able to help save somebody else's life. So it's very important, making sure that your wife or other crew members understand how to use the radio in case you're not able to. So one of the other things we really push hard is to avoid alcohol and being on the water. So many people associate drinking with a fun day out on the water.
No.
And we try to teach them about the risks involved in that.
Yeah, alcohol and boats just really don't mix. I've watched, oh, we're just going to have a few beers and go fishing, and I've watched people get into deep trouble with that.
Yep.
I think one of the things either one of you said, really important to me, is that you go out and you spend a lot of money on a boat. You come down here to Florida, it's time to retire, you build that big boat up by buying this, and this, and then you take it out and you don't realize that this bay is one of the most shallow waterways there is. There's more shallow water out there. You can look out there and see half a mile of water, and none of it's more than 2 feet deep at low tide, right?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched a lot of inboard outboards lose the outboard portion hitting that.
That
So
happens.
it's nice to have people in a group that would go with you,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely. That knowledge is essential. If you don't know how to read a chart, even if you have a GPS, if you don't know how to use it properly, you're going to wind up in trouble. You'll wind up in shallow water.
We had a fellow in Apollo Beach who bought this beautiful new boat, big cruiser, had twin Mercs on, or twin Yamahas on the back of it, 200 horses apiece, and we went from Apollo Beach, went down to Bahia Beach, and that's a tricky passage.
Yes, it is.
And he really didn't understand red right return. And he had a guy standing next to him that didn't know any more than he did, explaining to him, turn here, turn there. And I sat in the back of the boat listening to it until we went aground twice. And then spoke up. But it's important to have somebody go with you. And if you're a member of a group like this, you have somebody that's willing to go out on the water and probably is excited to get out, right?
You bet.
That's true.
The funny thing is, bad things happen to good people. And people don't recognize, they don't think about it. We do vessel examinations all the time, and I say, okay, go ahead and switch your lights on. And a lot of people will say, well, I never go out at night. And I say, well, you don't plan to go out at night, but if your engine dies out there and the sun goes down, now you're not only without power, you're without lights, floating around out there with barges and freighters and other speedboats and tankers. And so it can be very dangerous. So it's important to have all these things. We were involved in a rescue a couple of months ago, and some gentlemen were just out fishing, and they weren't planning on going very far, but the water kicked up and it flipped them over, and here they sat upside down on top of their boat with no life jackets. All of their equipment is now submerged, so they can't call for help. Fortunately, somebody on the shore called us. We were able to come in and tow their boat in to safety.
Wow.
But you don't think about those things. Now, of course, the first thing we did when we arrived is throw them the life jackets that they should have had with them and didn't. So fortunately we were there, but you never know. We're not always there. Somebody's not always around. If that happens to you, hypothermia can set in just like that, and you can be done.
And one of the gentlemen wasn't a swimmer at all.
Oh my.
Yeah, he was holding on to that boat for dear life.
For sure.
So fortunately we were there within minutes. And,
wow.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot of difference if you hadn't been there.
Yeah. Another situation we ran into not long ago, a couple went out to Beer Can Island, spent a delightful day. They had a little baby, maybe 6, 7 months old, planning to come back before sunset. They went to start the boat. The engine wouldn't start. Now here they are out there. It's getting dark, and they had no food for the baby. So they started to get really panicky, waving, and managed to alert a boat that they were in trouble. We towed them in. So you see all kinds of situations out there.
Yeah, I remember myself being out at, right off of Bahia Beach, the Bahia Reef, which is a rotten place to drop an anchor because there's so much rebar and stuff in there that anchors, it's probably got 1,000 anchors down there.
Caught.
And this boat refused, he was into that, couldn't get the anchor off, and because of the wind, and it was starting to get really bad, the boat was pulling so tight he couldn't even loosen it. And I had a knife with me, which I always had on the boat, and I said, cut it, let it lie. No, I don't want to lose my anchor. So you want to lose the whole boat?
Yep.
Yeah. So you have to be reasonable when you're out there.
Yes.
Speaking of what I used to carry on my boat, what about boat inspections? I occasionally will see the sheriff's department pull somebody over, run a boat inspection on them. I know the Power Squadron and you do boat inspections. What do you look for?
We go down to Williams Park quite frequently, along with another flotilla, and we're at Simmons Park frequently.
Williams Park is the one by the Alphi Bridge?
Alphi Bridge.
Alphi Bridge,
Right,
okay.
and Simmons Park is just
Near
off
Ruskin.
Ruskin. And we go down and we look for things that are required by the state and are also common sense. We have a list of recommended items and a list of required items. The most common thing that people fail on are flares. You take flares and you buy them and you stick them in your boat, and we ask people, where are your flares? Show us your flares. And they pull out sometimes these packages and they're half filled with water. The flares are about this big around.
Am I looking guilty now? Flares
I got my flares.
Flares were always my big thing. They'll still work.
Well, they might still
They
work.
might or they might not. Do you want to put your life on that bet? So
What happens if you find a boat that's not in specifications?
We confiscate it. Yeah.
no. Basically, we tell the owner, you need to get new flares, and there's no fine, there's no penalty. When they've passed all of our checklists, they get a sticker that they can put on the port side of their boat that shows the county, the sheriff's department, shows the Fish and Wildlife folks, this boat has been inspected by the auxiliary and passed. So if you pass our list, they will accept it and they'll pretty much let you be.
And we also give you the list, so you can go back and get the things you need.
You were explaining to me before we came on the air one situation where you were doing boating checks and the sheriff's department was sitting out in the water waiting for people to come through.
That's exactly right. And when we told people, you have an option. We can inspect you for free and we'll tell you without any charge or fine anything that's wrong with your boat, or you can let the sheriff's department do it later, and if they find something, there's a ticket involved. People were saying, oh yeah, inspect my boat.
Go back to West Marine.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought it was interesting with the sheriff's department. They didn't care that you were doing it.
Oh, no.
In fact, they encouraged it. And what did they tell you about the ones they inspected?
Yeah, they said if they saw a boat coming that had our sticker indicating it had been inspected, they just let them by. So that's a win-win.
So it saves them $80.
Yeah, exactly.
And it saves the sheriff's department a lot of time.
It does.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about Homeland Security. I know that you have a variety of different things, seamanship and other things that you have to go through, but you do some port security here, do you not?
We do. And as part of our training for port security, we've actually had on-the-water trips through the port where they showed us where important things are, what are the secure areas. So we've been trained, we've been prepared in what to recognize as we go through the port, looking for things that are out of line.
We all get hazardous materials training. We get training on the interacting with FEMA and some of the other federal agencies so that we can be called in case something comes up to help secure the areas that we're responsible for.
Now, this is a volunteer activity though, correct?
That's
if
correct.
I join and I really want to just learn seamanship and I don't want to be in Homeland Security, I don't want to be shot at, or I don't want to worry about hazardous equipment, I don't have to do that, right?
That's correct.
It's whether you want to do this.
Absolutely. Everything is voluntary. Nobody gets ordered to do anything. It's strictly on a volunteer basis. But you don't know what you're going to run into. We are always in contact. When our boats are on the water, they're in touch by radio with the Coast Guard. So if we do see a situation that appears dangerous, and there are times when that's happened. We once came upon a boat that had run out of gas, and upon inspection of that boat, it was obvious this boat was involved in drug running. We called the sheriff's department, towed the boat because it was out of gas to the dock.
Dumb drug runners.
Where the sheriff's department met us with a drug-sniffing dog that went crazy on the boat. So they knew they had a winner.
Gary, you were talking to me also about, I think that I remember you mentioning the ability, if you're traveling with your boat, to stop at various places where there are Coast Guard facilities. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. If you're traveling with the boat, most Coast Guard installations are happy to welcome you with open arms. We were able to stop on our trip that I mentioned earlier at the Coast Guard station in Cape May, shop at the BX, and visit with some of the crew there and tour the facilities. And of course, that's on an as able basis. Not all facilities will allow you to go in them, but it's very nice because there's a nationwide camaraderie between auxiliarists and between the Coast Guard and the auxiliary. It's very nice.
I've watched a lot of volunteers not get treated well by the professionals. So there is a good relationship there. They treat you as comrades, if you will.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
They've made it very clear to us that they value the things that we do, and especially today in the days of budget cuts and reduced budgets and so on, they increasingly value the services that the volunteer arm provides to the active duty folks.
Now, for those that turned in late, let's go back to, if I wanted to be a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, what would I first do? Would I call the number that's shown on the screen for you folks? Is that a good place to start?
Best place to start.
That's a good place.
All right, and then somebody's going to pick up the phone and they're going to give me additional information. Now, your flotilla is way over in Ruskin.
That's correct.
But if I happen to be in St. Pete, it cost me $1 each way, which is no big thing, but it's a lot of time. Are there other flotillas on Tampa Bay?
We have flotillas that completely surround Tampa Bay. There are 6 flotillas in our division, Division 7. And if you lived in St. Pete, there's a flotilla right there. So you could find one almost near wherever you live.
So the number, the 877 number we're showing on the screen, is that a...
That is our flotilla.
That's your flotilla.
But if you live in an area that's near or closer to another flotilla, we will put you in contact with them.
Okay, now if I show up to a meeting, is there a charge if I want to come in and sit in on a meeting, see what it's all about?
We welcome that. We encourage people to do that, and that's how we get a lot of new members.
So they can come in a couple, 3 times just to see how the meeting runs?
Yep.
But if I want to take one of your classes that's not a public class,
then you have to join.
Then I have to be a member.
That's correct.
Correct?
Correct.
And before I can get a uniform and all of this, I have to get an ID card, and I have to pass a security test, I have to be fingerprinted, all that sort of
training, you get fingerprints, we send the information into the headquarters and they do a background check and those sorts of things. And we brief people when they come in on all the things that they're to expect if they're going to join, because not everybody who is interested will really be committed to it, and not all will pass the background check and so on. So we'll let people know before they come in what's expected and what they need to do.
And we encourage new people to take our public education courses like boating skills and seamanship, or
That's the basic course, is it not? That's the one that you get your license for the state of Florida?
The basic course is about boating safely,
okay.
ABS, and a more advanced course is boating skills and seamanship. That's more intense, more detail. So either one of those courses we encourage our new folks and the public to take.
Now, we've got about a minute left. What didn't we cover that you want to be sure that the folks at home get to know?
I think probably one of the most important things that we left out is we have a heck of a lot of fun. We talked about boating accidents and and inspections and all these things, but we have a great time doing it. There's a lot of camaraderie with auxiliarists, and so we do social events too, and working as a team is a wonderful reward in and of itself, and knowing that as an auxiliarist you're helping the boating community to be more safe, you're preventing accidents, you're perhaps saving lives, and it's just a wonderful feeling. So we do have a lot of fun doing what we do.
You agree?
I heartily agree. Everybody who is in the auxiliary is doing it because they want to do it. Nobody's being forced to do it. And we do make a
No
difference.
conscription, right?
No,
don't have a
no
draft.
forced draft.
that's correct.
And this doesn't give you military service credit.
Nope.
Well, gentlemen, it's been great having you on, and I really appreciate the effort and the time and energy you put into making Tampa Bay safe.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for having us.
Appreciate the opportunity to come here.
I watch those huge cruise ships, and I watch the people going around and checking and everything. And it's a massive job. This is a big bay.
It
There's
is.
I've had the port director on, and the amount of traffic going in and out is huge. So the Coast Guard can use that extra watch, and it's good to see your eyes on it. I'm Bill Hodges. This is Spotlight on Government. You're unique. You're special, you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, you know. And gentlemen, again, Gary Mull, thank you. Commander Kramer, thank you for being with us. See you on the next Spotlight on Government.
Whew, getting health information is a nightmare.
It's all in how you look at it. To you, it's a pile of books, reading until your eyes drop out. But to me, I go straight to NIHseniorhealth.gov, click on what I want, and boom, there it is.
NIHseniorhealth.gov, the medical website created with older adults in mind by the National Institutes of Health.
Getting health information at our age is tough.
Yeah, it's all how you look at it. To you, it's a pile of books and reading till your eyes drop out. But me, I go to NIHseniorhealth.gov, click on what I want, and bingo, there it is.
Well, thanks for the tip.
NIHseniorhealth.gov. It's easy to use. You can make the text bigger, make the contrast better, even make it talk to you. If only everything else out there were senior friendly. NIHseniorhealth.gov, built with you in mind.